Hello, I'm Seafood Source editor Sean Murphy, and this is SeafoodSource TV, the bi-weekly video blog with news, information, and insights into the global seafood industry. This week, Norway and the Faroe Islands continue to see eye to eye on mackerel, shipping line surcharges at the port of Los Angeles are sparking protests, and China cracks down on seafood smuggling. But first, with the holidays upon us, everyone is hearing from and donating to various charitable organizations, but one is running a campaign this month that should be of particular interest to the seafood industry, and that's the subject of our take this week. SeaShare is a nonprofit that started 20 years ago in 1994 when a small group of Alaska fishermen decided that instead of simply discarding bycatch that was perfectly good to eat, they would give it to local food banks. Since then, the effort has blossomed. The group reports that to date it has either purchased or collected enough seafood to distribute 200 million individual servings to food banks throughout the United States. It's a good cause. No one can argue with the value of feeding the hungry. More than that, though, it's ensuring that even those who struggle to feed themselves at all, let alone a balanced diet, will have access to the health benefits that seafood has to offer. The industry has, of course, struggled to get even people who can afford to buy seafood to do so, with an estimated 14% of the U.S. population described as in poverty, according to the U.S. Census. There are a lot of people out there looking to food banks for help, and a lot of people SeaShare can reach with healthy seafood. This month, SeaShare is running a campaign titled Share the Sea. You can read more about the program and track its progress on SeaShare's website, www.seashare.org. You can also follow them on Twitter and post relevant tweets at the program's official hashtag, ShareTheSea. SeaShare's goal is to raise enough funds to buy 1 million servings before the end of December, and here at Seafood Source, we urge you to get involved. That's our take. Elsewhere in the news this week, Norway and the Faroe Islands has set a new mackerel quota for 2015. The countries were at odds over mackerel quotas not too long ago during a period described as the Mackerel Wars. The new agreement allows both countries to share 1 million metric tons of the small pelagics, with 15.8% of that to be available for other parties, which might include Iceland. Iceland is still protesting against the EU and Norway, saying current stock data should allow for Norway and the Faroes to fish much more mackerel. New shipping lines surcharges at the port of Los Angeles, California in the United States are leading to protests from the seafood industry. After a period of dispute with labor unions, some ocean carrier shipping lines have announced surcharges up to $1,000 per container. That's trouble for shippers in the seafood industry who argue that their margins are small enough as it is. Multiple industry groups, including the National Fisheries Institute, have even suggested the new fees may be illegal and have petitioned the Federal Maritime Commission for relief. A new study commissioned by the European Parliament has found aquaculture in Europe is growing exponentially, with expectations that seafood farming production will double by 2030. Statistics from 2012 show rainbow trout is the most popular species, followed in order by Atlantic salmon, gilthead bream, European sea bass, and the common carp. In related news, the Global Aquaculture Alliance is reporting the use of its Best Aquaculture Practices Sustainable Aquaculture Assessment Standard has grown by 11% in 2014. From January through October, the GAA reported the number of certified facilities totaled 729 worldwide, including 61 farms. Chinese authorities are cracking down on seafood smuggling. Last week, a court in Jiangmen, a city in the country's Guangdong province, sentenced 8 people to terms ranging from 3 to 12 years for smuggling more than $200 million worth of seafood, including shark fins and sea cucumbers, to mainland China using forged documents and lying on cargo records. China's economic growth has been slowing of late, and officials said the smuggling costs the Chinese government a significant amount of tax revenue. Some good news for salmon farming in Chile. Marine Harvest, one of the world's largest producers of farmed salmon, has announced it is building a new processing plant in Chile worth an estimated $20 million. The company expects the plant to be operational by the first quarter of 2015. The new plant is a sign of recovery after the infectious salmon anemia, or ISA virus, decimated farms in the region just a few years ago. And finally, this week, the American seafood industry has lost another leader. Thomas Elliott, former executive at Slade Gorton and Company and former chairman of the National Fisheries Institute, has died. An Illinois native, Elliott is known for co-founding the seafood import brokerage company Tima. He was a regional VP and general manager at Slade Gorton. He served as NFI chairman from 1988 to 1989 and continued to serve on NFI's board of directors. Elliott died at his home surrounded by his family on Saturday, November 29th. He was 76 years old. That's all for now, but Seafood Source will have a new edition of Seafood Minute next week, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another edition of Seafood Source TV with more news, information, and insights into the global seafood industry. I'm Seafood Source editor Sean Murphy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you online.